Now, our first storyteller this evening is a gentleman who joined us a few months ago, I think. I don't remember exactly when. He is absolutely somebody from, just a person from the community who's had a lot of adventures. Just a typical New Jersey guy who went out into the woods in New Hampshire and had some things happen to him. I don't know why that would happen. New Jersey certainly prepares you for the woods in New Hampshire. But by day, he's just one of those smart, I was going to say engineer-like people who works for Amazon and programs their robots. So that's sort of a little bit about him. His name is Tom Osterberg. Please welcome him to the microphone.
The first day after 4th grade, my dad put a tie and a coat on me, and I was angry. They took me down to New York City, Grand Central Station, train station, and the crush of the people, the women that were crying, scared me and made me quiet. My dad put me up on a train car, and I was scared. The train car was full of little kids. They were all about my age, 10 years old. And I looked down, and there were no adults in this entire train car. I turned, and we were pulling away from the station. My dad hadn't come up on board. I looked, and there was one seat left, across from a kid with one white dead eye. I sat down, and I was afraid, watching the station go by. And he turned to me, and he said, "I stabbed my eye out with a knife." I was terrified. I was 10 years old. What had I done? What had I done? I remember my mom telling stories. I had shaken the crib so hard when I was little that I could take the bolts out, push the side off, and I could escape from my crib and get into things in the kitchen. And I would take my dad's mail, his bills, put them in books, hide them in the bookcase. And I had a little dog named Prince that would break lamps in the living room. My mom thought I was a cute little boy. My dad was more of the military type. He worked as an executive for an international company. He wasn't sure he really liked his oldest son, who he had great expectations for to be a criminal. But, we started breaking other things. We started breaking a lot of bones. Not this bone or this bone. We thought we were lost boys of Peter Pan. Head in the clouds, feet off the ground, indestructible. My brother was coming at me with his steed, and I took my lance and I jammed it in the spokes of his horse. Substitute bicycle. Whoop! There he goes, broken collarbone. I was carving a special code into the vine, and whoop! There goes Tarzan, broken arm. And then I was doing swords with Peter Pan way up in the rigging, and there goes the branch and a broken leg. In my defense, he didn't know his leg was broken until the second time off the gangplank.
Oh, no.
My dad brought me out one night to some very serious-looking men, and they talked about a boys' camp, the oldest boys' camp in America, where they made men out of boys, and they made leaders out of men. It was a place where they taught the other fellow first. And he asked me on the way home if I wanted to go to camp, and I said, I don't really care. I put my head down, I ran into the woods till I was lost, and I came home really, really late to my worried parents. Or maybe it was because I took an axe and I chopped down a tree on church property, with the kids still climbing in it. Well, there it was with the coat and tie and the train, and we were going over the river, Hudson River, and through the fields and the forest, and I fell asleep after several hours. I awoke, and the train wasn't moving. It was just the kids in this one train car, and I could hear the engine pulling away. I was abandoned twice in one day. And all I could see out the window was cornfield everywhere. and all the boys were looking out the window scared. Something growling, grinding, coming towards us, and I was afraid. Turned out to be a school bus. And we herded us onto a school bus, and we went down to a big field. There were cabins overlooking Lake Champlain. It really did seem like a nice place. It was 8 weeks long through the summer. There were no phone calls. They dealt with homesickness by playing lots of sports and feeding lots of food and giving you chores and vespers. And, I think it was a pretty good camp. And I started to warm to it, but I had some doubts, and I watched people a lot. And I had a leader he was a very macho guy, and he would open things and close things very macho-wise, and he was always on my case. And one morning he was very surprised when I got up really early and I was gone. And he went over very sleepily to his closet, and he opened the door, and it came right off the wall, right down on top of him. He's like, "Osberg!" My last name became the camp cheer. And then we were rowing in a competition with the other team, and we were always losing. And I had noticed that there was a kid in there who was very, very curious, and I winked at him and noticed and pointed to a string that was next to him, and he noticed the string, and he gave it a good tug, and it pulled out the drain plug that had been substituted with sticks, and soon they were awash with water and sinking, and we pulled away and won. Osberg! The best, though, was a line of bacon grease that somehow found its way through the woods, up the stairs of our competing cabin, into the middle of their cabin. It attracted a small family of skunks, slamming the door, waking them all up. It was great retribution to see them jumping out the windows. Well, my dad's good intentions, though. After 5 years of 8 weeks, were realized. I did grow taller and less afraid, less angry. I did grow to have a family of 5 kids, and 40 years I was married, and I'm a leader at the world's largest robotics company. I never did get to tell my dad before he died that these things happened. And it was a wonderful place I went to. I had very fond memories. I actually sent my son there, not on a train, not for 8 weeks. I brought him there and I showed him Swim Point, the boathouse, the cabin I stayed in, places I played tricks on other campers. And maybe someday, probably when I'm dead, he'll be able to say, "Thanks, Dad, for your good intentions."